Good morning, Glory. It's great to see you. Lovely to be here with you today. Let me show you the sky. I hope you saw the photographs that I took as I was walking, not as I was walking up the hill, when I got to the top of the hill, because the clouds are so different. It was only 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. They were just all long and stretched from one end of the sky to the other, and you can see the remnants of that. Clearly the wind is coming from here, and it's just blowing the clouds all over the sky in one long continuous airstream. And it's beautiful here. I mean, look at that, it's glorious. And here's the sky. Good morning, Carmelina. Good morning, Linda. This is the sky just above us, luminous and beautiful. Greetings number one. Always makes me chuckle. Let's enjoy the Euryops flag. Look, clearly something else has been enjoying them too. Dave, good morning, beautiful man. Look at this. It's kind of gorgeous the way they've been chewed. And look at, there's so many more buds to come. I like the potential as well as the actual flowers. Nothing is perfect, and yet in its not perfectness, it's just fabulous. Good morning, Nora. It's great to see you. Let's see what other little treasures we can find up here. See why I call this campanula faithful. It's always flowering somewhere. It never really stops. It just, gets more and gets less. And you can see the tail scrag end of the Japanese anemones here. Let's see if I can find one really pretty old. But this is the autumn tangle. Boris! My goodness, it's great to see you, beautiful man. Gorgeous to see you, Alyssa. Oh look, this is something I forget. There is, see this? This is a small ginkgo tree. And I say small because it is. It's the one that nearly died. You can see down there where it's been pruned off. I planted it, it was much taller than this when I planted it. And it nearly died, and I went to dig it out and then discovered it was sprouting at the bottom. So I left it in, and eventually it'll be a big tree, but they're pretty slow, so I don't expect it anytime soon. Oh look, this is what we can enjoy on the way back. Kowhai blossom in great abundance. Good morning, Mary, it's lovely to see you. And while we're here, the fabulous foliage of one of the New Zealand daisies. It is actually a kind of daisy. Can't see the flowers, they're long ago, and I haven't even deadheaded this plant, I just didn't get to it. But the leaves are so attractive. And up there, that is a kowhai tree, so it has yellow flowers in spring, same as this, which is a sort of a spreading, much smaller variety. There's quite a few of them here. Old flax flowers from last spring. They stay a long time. And this is the little native area that I have. That's one of the flax plants. Here's the beautiful native sedge, I think. I'm not sure, but it grows in swamps and all kinds of places. It's called pingao, and it has this beautiful foliage with this, as you can see, an orange stripe down the middle of each leaf. And it has beautiful white flowers, the pods of which you can see now. Alright, now that I've had a bit of a ramble, let me get down here without falling head over kit. And today, straight hard on the heels of a fabulous comment that Cami made yesterday, we're talking about failure and fear, and the fear of failure. Margarita, good morning, beautiful. And all that stuff. Because we ended up talking about fear yesterday, or mentioning fear, and I thought, well, fear is not something that's particularly easy to talk about in any kind of useful way. We all relate to it, we all know what it's like to feel fear. It's normal, it's human, it's part of our survival response, it's actually necessary, it's useful. When it doesn't dominate you, it helps you stay safe. Juliet, it's great to see you, beautiful. But if it becomes a dominating thing in your consciousness, then it gets destructive. Because the stress response that happens when you feel fear, if it keeps on and on and on and on and on happening, it's like you're running from a tiger all day long. That's bad for your body, and in short, it shuts down your immune system and sets you up for disease. Hence, we don't want that. And I've talked a lot about various ways that you can break out of that cycle, and it is a cycle, and the body gets conditioned to it after a while if you don't. So then it just gets, it becomes normal that you're afraid, and you think, why am I afraid? There's nothing wrong in my life, but I'm still scared. And personally, what I have just recently realised, I think I've had this realisation before, but never so clearly, is that just as soon as the thing that I was scared about goes away, something else comes to take its place. I kid you not. It's just this. It's like a string of dominoes. And I realised, oh my goodness, that means I'm running a program that there is always something that I need to be afraid of. Guess what I'm dealing with now? So that is what I'm doing. Good morning, Sangmarie. I can see you up there. I see little faces, and some of you I know who you are, and some of you I don't. It's lovely to greet you when I do. So the fear of failure. Yeah, if you have failed enough and you think, well, I'm still here, I survived, what the hell, who cares? That's fine. Laurie, good morning, honey. Beautiful, everyone. I like that. The challenge is, and I think, fear of failure, we'll talk about that. But really, fear is always about something that is unknown, that you don't know when it's going to arrive or what it's going to be. And fundamentally, you don't know how you're going to feel about it. So because you don't know how you're going to feel about it, evolutionarily, we tend to fear the worst, and we tend to prepare for the worst. We look at the circumstances that are around us, and this is what the brain does. The brain makes a connection. You have an experience, whatever it is, good, bad, or indifference. You have an experience. Julian, good morning, gorgeous. And the brain says, oh, I got to remember that. It was fabulous. And you remember everything. Your brain takes a snapshot. You remember, you notice, I don't know, what is it, 1% of the information that's there? But your brain gathers everything. And so when some other small thing in the environment is like that, the brain goes, oh, I feel happy today. And you might never notice why. But it's because your brain has gone, there is a pattern in the environment that fits with this pattern that I've memorised, and that means that, so this feeling I replicate onto there. And it works the same with fear. It's exactly the same with fear. So when you are facing an unknown in your life, and that unknown looks like failure, right? What's happening is your brain has gone back into the past, because the brain is only a record of the past, because, it's memories, it's experience, right? Now you can change that, but for most people the brain is only about the past. Its architecture, its synaptic connections, its chemistry, everything is a product of the past. So you're faced with an unknown and it looks like it might be failure. Now, what makes you think that it's going to be failure? How does that work? In your brain is saying, well, that looks like this, and I associate this with a painful experience that I had where I quote-unquote failed, right? And I see that other thing, and that reminds me of that experience, and it also reminds me of another one that wasn't exactly failure, but it also felt bad. So, those are hooked together because the brain does things by association, and it does this in an instant, right? But it's by pattern recognition. So you see things in your environment that remind you on one level or another, and very often, of other experiences. Boriwa! Kia ora, darling. Your brain says, okay, well, this is the same. That was the feeling. This is how it's going to be. Or this is the same. Here's a range of feelings, but this is the scariest one, and we have to prepare for that in case that happens. That's actually what happens. If there are 20 possible outcomes from the situation that you're facing, and many of them are good, or at least, okay, still, your brain is programmed to look for the worst one and prepare for that. Prepare for it emotionally and physically and everything, because if you prepare for it and it comes, you're better chance of survival. But if it doesn't come, you're just left in this state of suspense and animation and fear, and there you are, fearing the failure, right? That is how it works. It hasn't come yet. You don't know how it's going to be. But because of how the brain works, because it's trying to help us survive, and it's not a bad thing, but it can really mess with you, you're in fear just because of certain things that you see and you think, oh, the last time that happened, this happened, and I felt like this, and I don't want to feel like that again, so I'm going to start fearing it and preparing for it and seeing if I can work out a way to avoid it. That is literally how it works in your head. So, so that is fear of anything. But seems to talk about fear of failure. The thing about fear of failure, I reckon, that's not really a thing, because there isn't really a thing. Failure is not really a thing. If you look at anybody who has done something amazing in their life, right? Someone that you look at and they inspire you, and it's like, oh, wow, I would love to create something like that, or whatever it is. Or, they've just been a fantastic parent and you're struggling to be a good parent. Or they overcame their own addictions and you're struggling to overcome your addictions. It's very easy. Morning, Trisha, darling. It's very easy for you to look at them and see that they've succeeded and go, oh, they did it. That's awesome. But you forget, because we're like this, you forget how many times did they fall over? How much did they struggle against themselves to overcome who they were and to get up, on those mornings? It's like, oh my God, I'm so scared of today. It comes to mind one of Joe Dispenza's heroes, Martin Luther King. I'm sure, as he says, I've heard him say it in his workshop, I'm sure there were days when he did not wake up feeling courageous. He did not wake up feeling excited about walking out the door and, taking his stand to say, hey, this colour of your skin just doesn't matter and this needs to change, this separation that we have between people about the colour of their skin. It's stupid, it's wrong. There would have been days when he woke up feeling fear and he had to master himself over and over and over and over again. You know how that goes, over and over and over and over and over and over and over. We forget their struggles. We see their victory and we forget their struggles and we forget their failures. The times when they face planted, they screwed up. We all know about Elon Musk, right? He wants to take humanity into space. He created PayPal, sold it for a lot of money, spent all of that money investing into the very beginning of SpaceX, failed. And this is before, and he'd already failed many times and gone, lost everything and built it again. I don't know the story, I really don't, but I know that it wasn't a deal for him because he just, screwed up. More feedback, guided missile, off course. And he got down to his last 20 million, I think it was, which is hilarious, or the last 200,000, I don't know what it was, but he spent it on the rocket that succeeded. Erica, great to see you, honey. He sent it on the rocket that actually went up and was successful. And it was, it was amazing. And we look at Elon and we say, oh my God, he's so incredible. But he went right to the edge and over it many times. He failed so many times. Edison, who wanted to invent the light bulb, so many times he failed. And we don't, and we don't think, oh my God, if he failed 1,000 times before he found the light bulb, maybe I can fail a few times and it doesn't mean anything about me. And that's why we fear failure. Because we've been programmed to believe that if you don't get the A, if you don't learn the same way as everybody else, if you can't meet up to the arbitrary standards for quote-unquote success that have been assigned by sort of, aggregating what's normal and natural and usual and all that stuff, then there's something wrong with me. If you don't do well at school, you won't get a good job. If you don't get a good job, you won't have money and you won't have a house and you won't have a partner and we extrapolate all of this stuff about what we can be, who we can be, what we can have, we think that failure means you can't have or be or do something. That's why we fear failure, because we think it means something about who we are, and it doesn't. But the programming goes deep. Every little piece of insecurity comes up and screams at you sometimes when you fall flat on your face, when you've lost all your money, or you've made a bad decision, or you look back and you think, oh, feck, what was I thinking? And that's just feedback. It is feedback. And, failure, there is no such thing. Everybody who has ever done anything great in their lives fails often. It's part of the process. Now, you don't, unless there's something really out of whack, when a child is learning to walk, the parent doesn't yell at the kid because they fall over 50 times. They're excited because they're trying stuff out, they're exploring things, they're finding out what doesn't work. That's what failure is. It's just feedback. If we feel bad about it, it's because we've decided it means something about who we are and what we can have and what we can be. It means, you're less. What do you mean you couldn't pass the test? Well, really? You're just going to have to try again if you really want to pass that test. Or maybe, there's a different path for you. There's always another choice, but we get locked into the idea of what succeeding is. And so much of that is assumed and conditioned and programmed. And it's a lie. But you kind of have to get out of that survival response that says you failed, you are going to die, as in you're not going to get what you want in life, you're not going to be happy, ultimately you're going to die. You're not going to survive, you're not going to have the joy, the peace, the expansion, the love, the healing, or whatever it is you want. You're going to die. That's the stress response. We've got to break that. Morning, John, gorgeous. Lovely to see you. We've got to break that. And part of the mental architecture in my mind that helps me do that is to say, okay, Maddie, so you screwed up. So you screwed up. Are you going to wallow in that? Are you going to continue to recriminate yourself as I did for years? Not continuously, but, I'd think of a certain thing, oh, God, I didn't understand, I didn't know what I was doing. Are you going to keep running that self-created, assumed, believed, reinforced, reaffirmed identity that because that I'm this, I'm a bad person because, really? I had to break that programming. And it was helpful for me to realise that there is no such thing as failure. Now, you can quit in response to failure, and if you want to, you can say that's a failure, but it only means that you quit. If you quit, you're going to go do something else. You can't not breathe in and out. You can't not think. You can't not ultimately make some kind of decision to get up off the chair and do something. It's the process of being alive. There really isn't any such thing as failure. There's only our very deeply conditioned and, sometimes very painful reaction in response to it. And it always comes back at that point when you realise, okay, this has happened. Right. Oh, shit. God, it hurts. And that is the moment when you decide if you're going to dive into that pain and let that pain define you, or if you're going to remember what you're about, that you have a vision of the future, you have a song of the future that's calling you, you have a future in your heart that's calling you, you have a desire, you have the smell and the taste and the presence of the future. Oh, right, yeah, that's who I am. This pain is not going to be where I stay. I'm going there. Oh, what is there like again now? Let me remember it again. Which of course means you have to extract yourself from that failure, which is already the past. Where are you going to put your energy? Where are you going to put your attention? You keep firing and worrying that circuit of how awful it is that XYZ happens and what it means you can't have and be and do. You'll make that real. But you've got to be more in love with your future than you are with your past. Whether it's 40 years ago or yesterday or 5 minutes ago. Doesn't matter. If it isn't who you want to be, don't put your attention on it. Realise you've got a survival response that's going to say, you've got to pay attention to this. You've got to really notice it and realise how awful it is so you can look out for it again next time and try and avoid it. Karen, good morning, darling. But if you get stuck in that response, you will get stuck in that response. So to notice the stress response, to understand it and get yourself out of it. And you do that by getting coherent. You do that by breathing in and out of your heart. You do that by doing whatever it is you need to do to break your state. And remember, there is no such thing as failure. There is only your reaction to circumstances, things that happen, and it's your reaction which means that you have a choice about how long you let that reaction happen. You're going to react. I react. Everyone reacts. That's okay. The key thing is, how long are you going to react? When something happens, whatever it is, things fire in your brain, chemistry pause. For those of you that haven't heard me say this before, really cool fact that I learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza, my hero. That chemistry, that reaction at a physical body level lasts for 90 to 120 seconds. That's it. After that, it's you and me. We're doing it. We keep it going. For aforementioned reasons of survival. We think it helps us. So he says, if you can learn to shorten the refractory period, and that's what that is, that period when you are wah! Or whatever, you shorten the refractory period, that's emotional intelligence. And it gets you out of the past and means that you can be free to move into your future, towards your future, being your future, independent of whatever quote-unquote success or failure is going on around you. And by the way, it's just as important with success. Success can completely knock a person off their head. Noticed that before? So there you go. That's what I wanted to say today. I'm going to show you the sky again because it's gorgeous. There it is. I mean, look, it's painted and there's the moon perfectly positioned, to just look beautiful. A little bit more. And you can hear that New Zealand is kind of gearing up. It's Thursday today. And there's more happening because we've come down another level of lockdown, which is a great blessing. I'm very grateful. It's beautiful to share with you. Thank you so much for gifting me with your attention and your energy. And may the transformation that is you grow. Much love. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.